During times of change, perhaps even crisis, we may find ourselves asking the question, is it time for a career rethink? Our careers are built on our skills, our drive, the demands of the marketplace, our momentum and so on. And if the topography that surrounds us, the backdrop changes, well then that might force us to make a change in our career. Now change is always happening, but for most of the time, those changes are almost imperceptible. However, sometimes something big happens and that causes us to reflect. So is now the time for a big rethink in your career? And that's the subject of our short video. Hello, my name is Stephen Wright. I'm a career coach here at Career Mentor, and we help high-performing financial services professionals make their next smart career move. So let's talk about the topography first. It's inevitable that things change, and sometimes that change is slow, sometimes it's fast. So for example, back in the day, there used to be large teams of US equity sales and Japanese equity salespeople. Those teams no longer exist. Changes in the regulatory environment, the fee structure, what the market demanded, what the investors wanted, mean that hardly anybody is doing that job anymore. All those highly skilled, intelligent people who are being very well compensated have had to move on. They had to repurpose their skills, find other ways of adding value to the marketplace, and reinvent themselves. So the change in the topography is inevitable and does force people to rethink their careers. Second thing is, it might not be the topography or just the topography that changes, it might be us. As we progress through our lives, so our values shift, what our priorities are shift, and we just may not want to do what we were doing. Family first, more balance are things that we want to focus on now. So given that the situation changes both for us and for the topography, well then how can we think about ways in which we might want to do something about that? The first thing is that we might want to just take one step away from where we are. So it makes sense because we have momentum, we have knowledge, we have network, and we know that area of business. And so making a shift to something close to what we're doing kind of makes sense. Let me give you some examples. People who are equity analysts who go into investor relations, or people on the sell side going into the buy side. All of those are well-trodden paths. Perhaps a bit further away are people who are in equity sales who go into compliance, or people in corporate finance who go to work for the corporates that they once served. So one step away is one way of thinking about this. It might be that you want to make a more radical shift, finding something exciting, building something intangible, being part of something new and growing are all drivers and the reasons why people get involved in startup situations. It's riskier in many ways, but it is exciting and more fulfilling in that way. It might also be that you have a particular passion for something. So for example, I once knew a sales trader who was simply mad keen for football and wanted to see if he could forge a career in that particular arena. Now he realized that there was something of a skills gap. So he took himself away to the University of Liverpool, where he did a football-focused MBA. So what does this mean if you're in a job search right now? Well, I think there's a few things to consider which will determine your strategy. First is, what is your time horizon? That time horizon is really important because if you've got some time to work with, then you have more room for maneuver. If, however, you need to get a job really quickly, well, that may change your view on what's going on. Second thing is to think about how you feel about the jobs that you're reaching out to. Are you really genuinely excited about the prospect of getting that job, or are you kind of just going through the motions? And the final one to think about here is, what is the feedback that you're getting? If you are being invited to interviews, if recruiters are interested in, if you're doing well at those interviews and you feel that you've got momentum towards finding a really good job, then why not keep going? If on the other hand there seems to be low or no interest in what it is that you're offering, it might be part of the cycle, but it might also be that you've chosen the wrong audience, or you've got the wrong offering, or that you're not presenting your offering particularly well, which is going to affect the way in which you devise your strategy going forward. And by the way, spare a thought for other people who have to make these fairly large shifts in their careers. Think about the plumber whose knees are shot and they can no longer work, or professional sportsmen and women who can no longer compete. or perhaps people in the armed forces whose contract is up and they can no longer serve. So you're not alone in this. Final thing to say is, well, what can I do about this? Well, here are some ideas that might help. The first is to think about what it is that you're offering to the marketplace. Do an audit of all your skills and attributes and network and everything that you can, and all the ways in which you can add value, and create something of a value proposition. Now, of course, this wants to be something that you want to offer to the marketplace. I'm sure you're capable of doing lots of things, but let's focus on what you want to offer. Second thing is to say, well, what could the audience be? So think through what your options are and stretch beyond the obvious into areas that your imagination demands that this could be really exciting. Third thing is to model other people who've gone before. There will be people who are doing what you're doing now who've gone on to do other things, just in the same way as those Japanese and US equity salespeople. So find where those people went. And now that we have LinkedIn, this is easier than ever. Once you've done that, you can now go out and explore. Not looking for a job specifically, but explore the terrain. Go and speak to those people who've done what you want to do and find out their decision-making process and how they ended up where they are. Also, go and speak to people in those areas which you think might be quite interesting. Understand what their journey was, what their thinking was, and perhaps what they like and don't like about what they're currently doing. Final thing is that you might consider getting a career coach, someone who has gone through these radical career shifts, someone who can help you find your path. I hope you find that useful. I'll be putting the blog that I wrote about this in the comments below. And if, by the way, you would like to have a chat about what your situation is, then please do reach out. All my contact details are at the top of my LinkedIn profile, and I'd be delighted to have that conversation. And thanks very much.